Welcome to another episode of Grown Men 2, where we have casual conversations with family, and friends about various topics spanning from life, health, money. And today we are going to tackle something that we touched on, uh, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, or I could say a month ago, probably. Um, and we're going to expand on that. And it's about mental health. Now, I know mental health is not the funnest topic, but we're going to delve into it because it's an important topic, especially with everything continuing to go on in 2020. And then the Black Panther died, and now, we're facing election. We don't know what that's going to look like. We got a lot of Trump supporters. We got a lot of Biden supporters, and everybody's fighting against each other over politics. And my question, my first segment is going to be, are we being exposed to too much negativity and trauma? And that can be us, meaning you can address it from the community or you can address it from just society itself. Anybody want to take a stab at the beginning?
Well, the answer,
And I
yeah.
I started out. It's I'll always say yes. I think the news that drives us is, just a world of negativity. The specks or the spots of positivity, is few and far between. And when it is, it's here today and gone tomorrow. We see the depressing numbers of the coronavirus, and again, not saying that the coronavirus isn't dangerous, but the COVID that we got going on, the rate of coming out of it, not 100% healthy, but coming out of it is a lot higher than death. But the one thing that they constantly put on there is death. So I think that has caused the mass hysteria that we have currently in our world today, where I think people are so frightened. I think that has caused some of the issues where you see people confronting people when they don't have a mask on, not understanding the full background. Maybe that person has a medical issue, but you don't see it. And it causes that anger. The loss of jobs. I think the businesses that are losing out. I think all that coupled together, that's just a small part, or I should say it's a large part due to the news, because people are afraid to go out. People are afraid to do things, which are hurting a lot of the small businesses. But in general, it's very difficult with the world that we have, because it's so driven by negativity. It used to be when you saw sports, you would see highlights. They would talk about what happened in the game. And now you watch sports, you watch talk shows, and things like that. It's all negativity. It's all negativity. Well, who lost the game? Oh, this person played awful. So it's just a different world that I think we live in, and that negativity just looms large. And I think it creates a lot of mental stress for many people. And sometimes that stress then creates, the issues that we have, the anxieties, the depressions. And that's where I think, that's what's hard in our world right now. And with the mental health being at an all-time high, people are sitting at home more than they ever have. So I just think it's difficult.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up what it is. It's very difficult. What about you, Eric? You got something to add to that?
Yeah, I definitely think it's that's the case, but I also think we have a choice, right? So you don't have to put on the news, or you don't have to subscribe to that point of view. I think like most things right now, they're giving people what gets attention, right? So to me, part of it is trying to choose to opt out. And when you talk about like, you know, trauma towards Black folks, for me, it's like anytime you turn on the television, even when you're not watching the news, you might see something that implicitly has a negative message about you and your Black skin. So like for me, it's just kind of like, it's pervasive, it's ubiquitous, right? Like, of course, like the scary figure with the hood, right? Like, you know, Viola Davis, a lot of the stuff that she's been posting on social media kind of showcases like how we contrast that in every way, right? Like that kid in Wisconsin who crossed state lines, who's not old enough to even carry the weapon that he has, right? What did he go do? He went and he killed a person. I think 2 people actually, if I recall that correctly. And when they put images of a guy who verified he killed people, he had an illegal weapon that he had no business, and he's not even from the area. He was protecting a business that he was not associated with, right? When you see images of him, you see images of him doing wholesome things, like he's cleaning graffiti, right? Like this guy's a murderer, right? But when you would see images of like Trayvon, it's like he had weed in his system. He was high, right? Like, so to me, it's not even really, yeah, I guess you can put on the media, but I think for me, a big part of it is our choice to tune in and accept the narrative.
Yeah.
You know? And then unfortunately, you know, because negative stuff does get your attention, right? It's kind of like you can get looped into that cycle. So like for me, it's just like at some point, like I try to stay informed, but I understand like when I read stuff, when I watch stuff, I understand that most of the people who are writing it are not writing it from my perspective, my viewpoint. You know, you don't have people writing stories and sharing news who knows what it's like to every day get up, and all you have to do is search. If you want to find an image or a story of a Black person just being Black and then getting killed, I mean, you could probably find one every single day if you just looked, right? So they don't know what that experience is like. So for me, I feel like we got to do a little bit of work to kind of shield ourselves and protect ourselves. I'm not saying be ignorant, but yeah, you got to, because everything is going to say something negative about Black and brown skin right now. And it is worse because of the, I think the election for sure.
Baby, got anything?
Yeah, the main thing I got with that is, to me, is the media just likes to play off of fear and create that panic in people, because people don't like to think.
Yeah.
People are naturally lazy, and so they want to be told what to do. Like when someone's like, oh, where is this? They just want you to tell them instead of you trying to get them to get to the answer. That's my manager speak coming out there a little bit. But to me, the thing of it is like, I know a lot of mental health. Like I know there's situations where you're born with things and you know, that's out of your control. But with mental health as right now, to me, with COVID, I feel like that's a choice, that you're making a choice to be in a negative place and pay attention to those negative things. Maybe something did happen to you. Maybe you did lose your job, or, you know, got furloughed, and or you're not making as much money as you did. So maybe something did happen to you. That's life to me. And it's all about the choices that you make afterwards. So if something happened to you, what is your next step? What's your next course of action to get better, instead of being down about it and letting your mental health get worse? Like I said, I'm talking about, to me, more COVID situation. Like I talked to this guy at work. So I do check-ins at my job with everybody every month, and I ask them specific questions when we're doing check-ins and stuff. And this guy, he's specifically a really good worker, but you could just tell, you know, over the last like week and a half, he was just off. Like he was missing stuff he didn't normally miss. And it's like, yo, what's going on? So when we finally talked to him, he was dealing with a couple personal things. Some family members were sick and things like that. So he was dealing with that. And then, he talked about that he literally looks at he lives with family. So the bedroom is kind of his domain. So he literally works in his bedroom, sleeps in his bedroom, eats in his bedroom, plays his video game in his bedroom, everything in his bedroom. And so to me, that's a choice. And that brought him down because he wasn't even getting out of the house. Like it's been forever since he left the house. And so to me, with the mental illness, like during this time, that's a choice. He made that choice to sit in his room and either play video games, work, or sleep. So that was a choice of his, and that affected him in a negative way. Just like the media affecting people sometimes in a negative way with the fear and all that stuff that they put out. So to me, a lot of that stuff right now is a choice. So I just hope that people decide to get themselves better during this time. What can you do to better yourself during this time? Because people don't realize it, but man, this is a prime opportunity to get yourself some growth. It really is.
Yeah. I've been saying that I said that. I know I talked to Dante about that. COVID has allowed a lot of people with dreams to pursue them easier. Also just open up some different kind of doors, different style doors. It may not have been the same ones you thought would be the way to go about things, but it also opened up how you pursue your goals and stuff like that. With that being said, we can sit here and blame media and all that kind of stuff, but like I said before, we consume so much because we choose to consume it. We make a decision to consume what we want. On the flip side, though, Facebook, Twitter, and all those kind of things are so embedded in our lives now that they become normal. It's like back in the day, my grandma will always want to watch the news at 11. That was her thing. She had to they didn't have another way to get the news other than somebody telling them something. So the news at 11 was it. And every time I was there when she watched the news, the first thing she would say is, there's always something going on in the world. It's always something bad. And I'm just thinking, because that's what they're telling you. If they don't tell you that, but also we hold on to those things. They can put 1,000 stories that are good on, and we hear one story that's bad, and all we do is going to hold on to that bad story, because that bad story, like anything bad, just keeps growing in your mind, and this topic was important to me. I turned last Monday, and seeing Chadwick Boseman pass from colon cancer at 43 made me realize that could be me. I'm not the healthiest person, but soon I'll be working with Athlete City and getting that body right, doing my things right. But I know for sure that could be me, because I for years haven't been eating right and doing things right, and and not that saying that's what happened to him, is I don't know his situation, but it made me think about also how I'm affecting my mental health by exposing myself to so much of this violence that's going on in our community, because I need to justify why police should do their jobs properly. But what can I do to change it? I can voice my opinion, I can voice my thoughts, but am I really actively going to change legislation? Am I going to change the mind and hearts of these police officers that are doing these heinous things? No. So what I realized is this: I have to change my circles. My circle has to be the best circle I can possibly have. And changing my circle will help me also see, not only know that there's bad things going on, but I can put things in place to help more people not take those routes in life to where they have to deal with that issue, or at least they can avoid some of those circumstances that create those issues. I used to never post anything about my financial work and stuff like that on my page, because I want to keep everything separate. I have a separate paid for my financial work and stuff like that. But then I started saying, why don't I? You know, I post all my political points or all my social points. So why don't I post my business stuff on there? So I was like, I've been focusing so much in my personal life on trying to fix wrongs that I have by myself no control of. So now I'm shifting to where I'm going to focus on the things I can control. And that starts in my household. That starts in my household, and then it connects from who else I can touch, who else I can touch. And from there, hopefully I can build a tree of life or a tree of something that allow me to help a bunch of people in different ways, in different avenues. And it'll keep me from falling into that trap of that negativity. Because I tell you, every day it's somebody getting shot, and they look like me, So if they look like me and every day somebody's getting shot, I have to figure out how can I have empathy for that situation, but also have the mental strength to keep moving on my same goals and my same dreams that I have also, but not discrediting or abandoning the fight for that justice for those people. And I think that's the hardest thing I'm dealing with right now. But I realize I have to fix me too in the middle of that. So, I try to change my focus. I don't know if Dante, did you hear us talking about what we were talking about?
Heard a little bit of it. I didn't know what the question was though.
All right. It's all good.
So Byron, I just wanted to, you and Faye kind of brought up a good point, where I think there are a lot of instances that, we bring some of the mental health to ourselves. And then I think that there are other situations where the mental health kind of comes to us. Being laid off of a job, that's not something that you have control over. I know depending on if you have kids, you had to be a teacher. Some people like me, where I was working from home, I got lucky and we had a babysitter for the most part, but I know a lot of my coworkers had to try to help their kids with school during the day while trying to work an 8-hour job, and then also cook dinner, get everything ready. So I think some of those wears on you, because we are people and creatures of habit where, I used to go to work. I had a 30-minute ride on the way into work that I got to decompress. I got a 30-minute ride on the way home to decompress, where now I literally wake up and I go from having kids, I come downstairs, I work. When I get done work, I come upstairs and the kids are right back there. So a lot of those outlets that, me personally that I had, I don't have anymore. And I can see, working in the mental health field for a long time, how that can have an effect on you, because now you're out of your routine, things are different. And when you're talking about dealing with school, trying to keep a young, I would say elementary school child, possibly even a middle school child, trying to keep them in front of a screen and paying attention while you have the job that is, putting a roof over your head. And you don't want to put that in jeopardy, as well as you don't want to put your child behind. I just think that creates some of that stress. Now, how we deal with stress, I think, is where you guys are. I would put what you're alluding to is how we deal with it. And I think we have to use a lot of the outlets that we have, whether it's friends, family, calling a specialist. And I think we can't be afraid to talk about when you're having a rough time and talk to those people, because same thing, employer. Some people may feel comfortable with their employer and letting them know, and their employer might be like, hey man, listen, go ahead and take a day off, just, but I think those things are things we have to do, is find avenues for that. Because again, there's certain things and certain stressors in life that are always going to be there. How we deal with them is the bigger point, in my opinion. Because again, I always had stress at work. You're trying to get stuff done and you're trying to, balance life. It did change when COVID hit, but I think for the mental health and for our well-being. I think a lot of that, the gyms closed down. That used to be a huge stress relief for I don't know how many people. So did they try to find outlets to do things differently? And I think all that plays into the mental health. And are we taking care of ourselves, not just either physically or mentally, or it has to be a combination of both.
Yeah. And I think that kind of goes into our next part, unless somebody else want to add on to that. Our next part of that conversation is